And welcome into Foolish Fantasy, as this is your host, Kramer Sansone at Kramer Talks on X. Make sure you do follow us on Foolish Club Media. Make sure you like, subscribe, turn on notifications, do all the fun stuff to help out this growing, amazing, Chiefs-centric type of... this is fantasy football, but we clearly cover the Kansas City Chiefs and everything else between the lines of everything sports. But this is Foolish Fantasy for our second episode of the year, and also more to come. But there was a lot that happened in football this past week, especially for what happened on Sunday and also on Thursday. But first, there's always a question I want to ask at the beginning of each show, and right now is, if you could have redrafted your first-round draft pick in your fantasy drafts, would you do it? And actually, who would it be? So, for instance, the league that I took last place in, I took an L last year and had to serve a punishment, which that punishment was to bowl a 300, or for every single beer I drank, I would minus 15 pins off. The beers from the pins would carry over to the next game, but the pins from down the lane would reset. I actually finished with 13 beers down and actually bowled a 175 while 13 beers deep. So I'm pat myself on the back there. But in this league that I took the first overall draft pick in was Jamar Chase. If I could redo it right now, it's not Jamar Chase. This is the second year in this league that I've been burned by a quarterback being hurt. Last year, my first round draft pick, I think I had like the 8th or 9th overall pick then. I took Tyreek Hill and Tua Tagovailoa got hurt. And then this is the exact same thing that happened, except for a different injury when it comes to Joe Burrow's toe. But yeah, no, I think I would take Jonathan Taylor to begin the season off, because he's been absolutely phenomenal when it comes to running the ball, especially for the metrics of just getting yards. He's been doing that a lot. He got 3 touchdowns this past week, like 165 yards a week prior. This guy is being able to be a difference maker for the Indianapolis Colts. And I think it's also a big reason why the Colts right now are winning, is because they're relying upon the legs of Jonathan Taylor, and I wish Jonathan Taylor was on my team. So if you were the lucky people who were drafting late in the first round, or that on that comeback around, you can pick him up if you have a 10-team league or a 12-team league. He could have been possibly your 13th or 14th or 15th pick in said leagues. Congratulations on getting yourself a stud, because Jonathan Taylor is the number 1 overall running back right now in fantasy football. And if you have him, congratulations, you're on a very good pace. And I think I'd hope you're 3-0, maybe you're 2-1 to begin the season, but I'm curious what you all would think. Who is that guy that you should have drafted in the first round of your drafts this year? Like I said, mine was Jamar Chase. I kind of wish it was Jonathan Taylor, but at least I know Jamar Chase is still going to get targets, even though that was a dreadful stretch of what the Cincinnati Bengals performed this past week. So that's what my answer is. I can't wait to see what yours is. But let's get to the foolish funsies, especially as we're going to get to the injuries that have happened in the NFL. As we see CeeDee Lamb there, and CeeDee Lamb will be out for 3 to 4 weeks with an ankle injury. It was kind of odd to see him get at least some sort of working way in, and he tried to go out into the end zone on a play, and it just did not work out for him. He was not comfortable, I would say. That would be the best terminology out there, and he decides to walk off the field and be done for the rest of the game, which that's A-okay. He's going to be out 3 to 4 weeks. George Pickens did step up a lot in this game, getting the receptions-wise, especially also with Jake Ferguson. Ferg is the word. I like saying Ferg is the word, especially when it comes to my Madden league, because I pepper Jake Ferguson all the time, kind of like how Dak Prescott was peppering Jake Ferguson during the injury of the CeeDee Lamb list. But then also, Jake Ferguson's also been targeted a lot this season, and also is a bright spot for that Dallas Cowboys offense, if you would say lack thereof. Well, I mean, they did that boat race a week before with the Giants, and I thought there'd be a better scenario when it comes to the offense without CeeDee Lamb. Maybe more hands get out there, maybe more people start shining. But this didn't happen against the Bears. You played the Bears, and the Bears played phenomenal. I don't think Caleb Williams got sacked. Congratulations, Caleb Williams. He also had an incredible day in fantasy, as we'll get to our doers here after the funsies. As we continue with the injury bug of news, it sucks. James Conner, sorry if you're squeamish. This is the ankle injury. If you're on YouTube, make sure you like, follow, subscribe. And I do apologize. It did not give me a warning, but that is the injury to James Conner. His ankle is done. It's done. He's done for the season. And if you are a Trey Benson owner, you are probably thinking, "Oh, look, we got something." Trey Benson did have a lot of run after post-injury of James Conner, but they've been relying on James Conner a lot in this offense, because I do not think Kyler is doing great this year, even though they are 2-1 in the season. They did, but the 2 wins they have won aren't really good football teams. Let's just not act like they're not. So the Cardinals are 2-1 on the season. James Conner being out with an ankle injury, being done with an ankle injury is just not good. It sucks, especially for your fantasy people. This is if you're trying to scramble to find something, maybe there's some guys out there on waivers. Michelle Tootin is still on a lot of open spots on teams. So we'll get to later on in the show of my waiver wire watch list. So James Conner is going to be out for the season. There's another image of it. You can just tell he's just in pure agony. And maybe it was odd too, because when watching this live, you had the face of the sense of disbelief, like this truly happened. Like I know my season's over with. A lot of players this week kind of seemed like that was the case scenario. Tyrone Tracy got hurt with a shoulder injury. He will probably miss some time, maybe 2 to 3 weeks, depending on how serious it is. He took a massive shot towards the sideline during Sunday Night Football. And we saw that the Cam Scadaboo show come out in full force. And Tyrone Tracy, like everybody in fantasy football that drafted Cam Scadaboo, like they were wanting at some point this to, I guess, happen where he would get more of the bulk of the run. But Tyrone Tracy being hurt this way absolutely sucks. This isn't the way that we want to see it when it comes to fantasy terms. But I know some people there that have been stashing the grab and stash of Cam Scadaboo. Like you're going to get a lot of positivity coming from this guy because this guy's just a wrecking ball, bowling ball. And also Tyrone Tracy was also factored a lot in that first a couple of drives for the Giants. So I'm kind of curious to see how truly that they were just invested in just having Tyrone Tracy try to burn the Chiefs the entire time. And then once he got hurt, it kind of got flipped on its side. But then they decided to let Cam Scadaboo do the exact same thing. So I'm just curious to see how that would have actually played out if Tyrone Tracy didn't get hurt. But it absolutely sucks that he's going to be done for at least a handful of weeks. And we're going to see a lot of run now with Cam Scadaboo. Another Najee Harris. This was ugly. This was sad. Like I would say this is classified as one of the saddest injuries out there because of how the play started. He was out there in this position right behind as Herbert lined up under center. He's going to do a play action to Najee Harris, or it could have been an actual handoff. I don't know. It kind of looked a little awkward because whenever he got the push off and the jump off, his Achilles tendon just snapped. And he went straight to the ground. Like I felt super, super bad and concerned. You never want to see that, especially on a contactless injury. That's just that we know that the worst is yet to come when it comes to that. So with Najee being out for the rest of the season, Amarion Hampton is going to get the bulk. We saw him get the bulk majority of the game too. Big reason why they were able to get in the field goal range for Cameron Dicker to punch it through the uprights to beat the different Broncos. But this is a big blow for the Chargers, especially for a run-heavy-esque offense that needs to rely upon the ground and pound to open up play action, to open up more guys on this offense. With a Chargers list, Najee Harris is going to just cause Amari Hampton to be out there even more. And who knows? There might be another guy that's in that backfield of the Chargers backfield that could step up with the absence of Najee Harris. And I know we don't really talk about the defense as much as we should say when it comes to fantasy football purposes, but this might be kind of huge. And because the Niners are going to be out without Nick Bosa for the remainder of the season with a torn ACL. That sucks. And I saw him walk off on his own power, though, in that late window of games. And he seemed like he looked up and he pointed the thumbs down, thinking that, oh, it's done, or like I'm done for at least this game. So it's not good. It sucks to say the least when it comes to Nick Bosa, because he's always had knee problems throughout his entire career, even that dates back to Ohio State. Not good. And if you have the defense for the 49ers, I would just drop them. I would. I don't see any upside for it. I know they only give 13 or 14 points this past week. You're going to be out with a pass rusher, and it seems like everybody in this division, that's either the Seahawks, the Cardinals, or the Rams, they're slinging it right now. So yeah, I'm not sure how much the pressure is going to be or the possible interceptions are going to be coming. So that sucks. That sucks for old Nick Bosa there. I'm going to do it there for the portion of the people getting hurt. Now let's talk about the Minnesota Vikings. Minnesota Vikings have a QB situation, and now we're talking about the QB going forward. Minnesota Vikings absolutely dog walked the Cincinnati Bengals, the little kitty cats out there, because one, it was just a defensive gym for was it Royals, or what was the guy's name that literally had every single stat that you would truly want when it comes to defense. What is his name? Why can I not think of it? Hold on. It's coming through in a second. I know this is bad podcasting, but dude, this guy, is it Xavier Scott? No. Who was it? Yeah, Xavier Scott. No, it wasn't Xavier Scott. Who got the touchdown? You got two. Isaiah Rodgers. There we go. I knew at some point I was going to get it. I know you're all listening to me, Kramer. It's Isaiah Rodgers. It's Isaiah Rodgers. This is what happens when you do a solo show trying to pump the buttons every single where also. But, man, he had one of, like, the best defensive gems that you would want to have for a defensive back because he had two returns for touchdowns. One, he forced it all the way out, and the ball was literally he forced it out in that peanut punch and just went straight into his lap where he fell right on top of it, picked it up and gone. Kind of like Houdini'd it with with how the what's it called? Where you couldn't see it on the camera. You didn't see where the football was at. But you're not here to hear the defensive metrics. We'll do that in a second. But man, Carson Wentz didn't look bad. Let's not say that he had the best game of games, only thrown for 173 yards, but it's all you really need to do if your defense is just coming out there and slugging and chugging for you. 2 touchdowns thrown that way. Jordan Mason had an incredible game behind Carson Wentz, and they're going to Dublin this upcoming week, which Carson Wentz is already named the starter for that, and I'm assuming Carson Wentz is going to probably be named the starter for the week after that because the Vikings will be in not New England. No, they're not playing the Patriots. They will be actually in England against the Browns? Yes, it's against the Browns in England. So this upcoming week, they're playing against the Steelers in Dublin. Then they're going to be in England taking on the Browns. So you might as well just let J.J. McCarthy rest all the way up until they play the Eagles back at home in mid-October. That might be the best bet if I am the Vikings right now. Because if you're Kevin O'Connell, you don't want to rush the guy who's had leg problems the entire time. So at least we know that Carson Wentz is the guy moving forward, and he at least had a decent day in fantasy football. I think he had his PPR was around 17. So, and you probably get him around 17 points in other PPR type of affiliated leagues that you'd play. So, I mean, Carson Wentz might be a nice person on this. Keep watching for him. I'm not saying go out there and go get Carson Wentz, but we at least know Carson Wentz will get the start already for this upcoming week. And then, like I said, I assume he's going to get the start as well in New England. Or in England. Gosh, Kramer, you're going to get this all wrong. So that's at least somewhat there for him. So at least we know that coming on there. But now let's talk about this game for itself because the Bengals need to absolutely burn the tape of this one. This was just not good if you are an owner of Jamar Chase or T. Higgins or heck, even Chase Brown. Chase Brown had a terrible time running the football at 10 carries for 3 yards. Not good, not exactly what you wanted, and they had to turn to the passing game relatively quicker than they thought. Brett Rippon did not. So he actually got out there for a couple of tries late in the game. But Jake Browning not having a good game whatsoever. Threw 2 interceptions, 1 touchdown. What are you going to get, though, out of a backup quarterback? I know last week I said, hey, go out there and get Jake Browning. I didn't tell you to start him, but you could double up on the points if you had to. But at least you know Jamar Chase is going to get the targets. He got 6 targets on 5 receptions for 50 yards. Not the best outlook you want, especially with Drew Sample getting the touchdown, who had a couple of receptions for 20 yards. This Noah Fant got in the action too. So the tight ends might be the play for a little bit. Watch what Noah Fant does. Watch what Drew Sample does. Chase Brown may not be a lock to start now. He might be running back 2 in your lineup or possible flex options. But you would hope that he would get more, I guess, pass catching opportunities. He did have 5 targets on 4 catches, but he only gained 17 yards. I'd say it's just not the best production you would want to see out of a high caliber pick when it comes to Chase Brown. Chase Brown was like a top 30 running back or a top 30 pick when you combine it with the wide receivers and running backs. Actually, honestly, he might have been a top 25 in PPR standards. T. Higgins, not good. Not good. We're going to get in our duds here later on, but he was just not good. This is the tape. This is the burn the tape scenario. If you're the Bengals, because you lost 48-10 to the Vikings. It's like it was not pretty. And I know if you are probably in the local markets of Cincinnati or heck even here, the local market of Kansas City, this game got taken off by halftime. That's how bad it was. So we'll put that into perspective for you. So that's fun. That's the funsies here on the Foolish Fantasy. By the way, I'm Kramer Sansone. If you have yet to subscribe to this, retweet this, repost this, go on our 5-star reviews and leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, because I'll tell you what right now, it will be read on Veach season. Every single 5-star post is read on Veach season. So make sure you go and do that. Leave a 5-star review and we will read it, Rocky and myself. So those go out typically on Wednesdays. But yeah, no, every single Tuesday, like it is today, you're obviously going to get a recap of what happened in the fantasy, our foolish fantasy that we have here. And then on Thursdays, we're going to give you the up and coming, what to expect, who to start, the sit for the week ahead. But as we continue with our doers from this week, the doers were doing it, especially if you're the name of Trey Tucker. Trey Tucker was doing a lot of things for the Las Vegas Raiders, and the only positive things that came out of the Las Vegas Raiders. Trey Tucker had 40.9 PPR, 8 receptions, 9 targets on 3 touchdowns with 145 yards. He literally did everything. If you are thinking about wanting to go out and get Trey Tucker, he is owned in 2% of the league, so it's not like he's the biggest name out there to want you to get there and to add. Trey Tucker took a lot of Brock Bowers' snaps, and that's what concerns me. The production value is awesome. I'm glad Trey Tucker was able to do it, but he's not rostered on a 98% of ESPN leagues, and I guarantee you that's the exact same way across the board, whether if you're on Yahoo, whether if you're on Sleeper, or even on NFL.com. Like, it's just you're not getting the value that you would want to if you want to go out there and get Trey Tucker. But it concerns me I know this is the doers, but it concerns me with this entire offense of the Raiders if you're not considering on Brock Bowers, who's a high-end caliber draft pick when it comes to fantasy purposes. Not good. Trey Tucker took everything, but it's the doers. We're not talking about the don'ts yet. The doers of Trey Tucker, the legend of Trey Tucker. I believe this might be, it's not the highest this year, I don't believe. I should probably know that, but I just don't. But yeah, no, Adam on the doer. The Trey Tucker experience in Las Vegas has been great, and that was the only offense the Raiders had. I think they put up 24 points, so that's 21 points came out of Trey Tucker, and they lost big time to the Washington Commanders. Jonathan Taylor, I just mentioned about Jonathan Taylor earlier on in the show. It's the guy that I should have drafted instead of Jamar Chase in the first round on the first overall pick, because he is absolutely going crazy like he did this past week with a 32.8 PPR. That's 102 yards, 3 touchdowns, 3 receptions on 16 yards. He's just absolutely insane right now. There's a big reason why the Colts are winning, and he's the big factor for it. And also, Danny Dimes has been managing his ass off behind under center. Like, he's just doing an incredible job. It's what Shane Steichen needed. Is it Shane Steichen, their head coach? Shane Steichen. I hope I said the exact same that right. Shane Steichen, football coach? No, he is not. Yeah, he is. Shane Steichen is. I know where a good head coach is. A coach, and I was a good head coach right now in Indianapolis. Shane Steichen, I think he's figured it out. He's got his quarterback he needs, and his quarterback doesn't need to do much. He doesn't, because you have a bell cow like Jonathan Taylor who can be a difference maker in the game, and he was a big difference maker, and that's why he was on the doers for Foolish Fantasy. Another guy that was a big factor because he stepped up huge for going down on with Tyrone Tracy going down under the lights on Sunday Night Football. Cam Skattebo, 24.1 PPR. He had 60 receptions, 1 touchdown, 6 receptions for 61 yards. That's a lot of sixes that comes in there. And that's Cam Skattebo was bowling. Like he was a bowling ball when it came to Chiefs defenders trying to tackle him. I can just vividly see Nick Bolton try to tackle him, and he rolls off the tackle and gets another 5 to 6 to 7 yards for a first down or a possible first down. Cam, he was doing a great job last night couple of nights ago against the Kansas City Chiefs. And I know he probably picked up a lot of the slack of what Tyrone Tracy was supposed to have probably in the game plan throughout the entirety of the game against the Chiefs. But the fact that if you have a guy like Skattebo that can just come right in, or we know that his uptick from the past from week to week has been increasing, at least we know he has somewhat of faith. Like he's a flex starter for this upcoming week. I think he might be a running back 2 option this upcoming week. It's back-to-back PPR weeks of him going over 10, especially with this past game against the Chiefs going 24.1. I would say if you are trying to start somebody, I would start him right in a heartbeat, because the Giants play the Chargers this upcoming week, which you need to run the ball against the Chargers. I think you can probably expose the Chargers a little bit if you just run the ball, even though they had but I also think, I don't know. Scadu's going to get a lot of receptions, and he's also going to get a lot of yards, whether if it's receiving the ball or running the ball, because I trust him bulldozing at least one or two people and get at least 5 yards each time. That's how confident I am with Scadu this upcoming week against the Chargers. But you know what? He might be my start. He might be my sit. We'll have to find out in a couple of days when we do talk about that. Another guy who's on my doers, A.J. Brown, had 22.9 PPR points, 6 receptions on 10 targets, 109 yards, 1 touchdown. And I absolutely know, and I know the pain that some people have of you've been waiting and waiting and waiting for A.J. Brown to do something, and he finally did it. But here's the thing. Did you truly start A.J. Brown this week? I'm actually kind of curious, because if it was the first couple weeks of the season, I would still put it as my flex option or the wide receiver 2 or wide receiver 3, depending on how deep your lineups go when it comes to, because I know everybody has a different type of esque lineup that you have in a different league. Because I can't stand the over flexes where you can have 2 quarterbacks. Just don't like it. But with A.J. Brown finally doing something in fantasy standards, incredible game yesterday. That's exactly what you wanted. Even Jalen Hurts had an incredible game. Devonta Smith had an incredible game. Just that offense was doing incredible things yesterday, and A.J. Brown truly shined in a fantasy football perspective. Another one on the doers, Jake Ferguson, 21.2 receptions, or 21.2 receptions. If you can't get a 0.2 reception, Kramer, 21.2 PPR, 13 receptions on 14 targets. I mean, by the rate that Jake Ferguson's going, he probably has about 21 receptions at some point in a game, because he's been targeted and he's been successful at catching his footballs greatly. 82 yards, didn't get it in the score, but not many people did score the Cowboys against the Bears. It just wasn't a good offensive game unless you were George Pickens or Jake Ferguson, who was literally catching everything in that game. They just couldn't put it up. They just, whether if it was a turnover, which happened quite some time, or them not converting on a 4th down, is get Javonte Williams in the end zone. I needed a Javonte Williams anytime touchdown, and it never happened, and he got stopped at the 1. But Jake Ferguson, great fantasy option. Great doer. Vikings defense, 32 PPR points. A lot of people did not start the Minnesota Vikings defense. I know for a fact a lot of people did not start the Minnesota Vikings defense, because the Minnesota Vikings are owned in they're 85% rostered, but I'm not sure how many people actually started them. Because right now in the previous games, you got a 4 and a 5. That's nice. You get 4 to 5 points. But if you're thinking maybe I can, maybe it's Cincinnati, maybe the Jake Browning and the Jamar Chase and T. Higgins scared me, you didn't start them, and you probably should have. 32. That's crazy. They've already jumped being the number 1 team, number 1 defense in the PPR standards when it comes to ESPN. So that's it's crazy. It's insane. So those are our doers. Now let's go to the don'ts. The don'ts that didn't do much. The doers and the don'ts. These are just guys that couldn't do anything. Breece Hall, if you started him, I'm sorry. I started him. So I'm sorry with myself. That's how it is. 9.2 PPR, had 21 rushing yards, 31 receiving yards. I didn't want to put out the attempts on rushing or receiving because it just didn't matter. This is a different Jets team without Justin Fields. And it's odd to say the gap of Tyrod Taylor to Justin Fields. I thought Tyrod Taylor at times, but also Tyrod Taylor has been in the league for quite some time. He's just a backup journeyman quarterback now. I thought that we could probably see some spark from Tyrod Taylor and maybe get that, hey, I'm getting back into this. He could, if Tyrod Taylor had a good or great game, he would be starting the next prior week before, if say Justin Fields is even back. He just didn't have it. Justin Fields needs to be back on this team, I think, if Breece Hall needs to be a factor, because then you could actually execute the read option. They use Justin Fields in the run game a lot. I'm curious to see if that ticks down now since he had the concussion. But Breece Hall benefits if Justin Fields is on the field, and Breece Hall did not benefit whatsoever without him. So that's rough. Ladd McConkey, 8.1 PPR, which means 4 receptions, 41 yards. I don't know if I trust starting Ladd McConkey going forward. I don't know who the true cut number 1 wide receiver is for this team. I know Najee Harris is going out, so that doesn't factor anything with Ladd McConkey, because you know Amarion Hampton's going to get his share of either receptions on catching the ball from Justin Herbert, or him handing it ball off. No, I'm more concerned if Quentin Johnston or Keenan Allen are the number 1s and the number 2s, And Ladd McConkey's just a slot receiver that if he's open, he's going to get the ball. He had a great game against Kansas City Chiefs week 1. Don't get me wrong. But I don't think he's gained the respect that I need to start him each week now, knowing that he's had terrible weeks, back-to-back weeks. I don't trust what they do in this offense for Harbaugh. Harbaugh wants to win football games. And if that means that if Johnson's the hot hand, they're going to dial up plays for Johnson gets the ball. That's what they've been doing right now with Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen has played incredible. And those two guys are overshadowing Ladd McConkey. I don't have any confidence or faith starting Ladd McConkey at all. So he might be on my sits this week. We'll have to find out. But right now, it's just not good. Not good for a PPR perspective when it comes to fantasy football. Another guy, Marvin Harrison Jr., 7.4 PPR. Not good. 3 receptions on 6 targets. 3 receptions. He had 44 yards. One was a crucial drop, like you see in this picture right here. Like I said, if you're on YouTube right now, you can see these pictures when I'm talking, and you can relate more. I have the picture right now of the ball going right through the hands of Marvin Harrison Jr. Did we expect this to happen? Is Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison Jr. are they close? Because they don't seem like they're close. They don't. Marv seems very distraught in this organization, and it's time for him to shine or to step up now, knowing that, hey, we can't run the ball more. We can't run the ball like we wanted to. We can't have that dump off to James Conner because he's done for the season. Marv needs to step up. It's not like last year he was targeted. He's been targeted this year as well. It's just getting the receptions. It's like almost 50%. It's not almost 50%, probably like 70. That's still, you want to get an 80 to 90 share when it comes to you throwing to your number 1 receiver. Like, he is number 1 receiver. You can't tell me that he's not. Like, I could see how maybe Trey McBride might become the number 1 receiver at some point, especially in the red zone. Had a great touchdown this past week. But I need more Marv Harrison. He's on the don'ts this week. It's not good because 2 of these guys so far, Breece Hall and Marvin Harrison Jr., are on one of my fantasy teams. It's not good. Another Ashton Jeanty. He didn't have 16 yards. I know he didn't have 16. He had 64 yards. That's a typo. 17 rushes on 64 yards. His PPR is 6.3. Now, if he had that 16 yards, there'd be a big, big concern. This offensive line is not good. If you're the Las Vegas Raiders, you're not getting any sort of production right now at Ashton Jeanty, and I'm kind of concerned. I know they play the Bears this week, so you might want to start Ashton Jeanty, but he's your running back 2 or your flex option. Yeah, I don't have any confidence of him being running back 1. A lot of people took him in the first round, and a lot of people expected him to have very high caliber stuff. We're not getting it. We're not getting it right now, and it's not good for Raiders fans. Trust me, I know this. So this offensive line's terrible. What if this offensive line would get better, or you play a team that has a bad defensive line, which you would think that I don't know. I'm sorry, you Ashton Jeanty believers, but it's not looking good for him right now in fantasy football standards. So if it's me, I'm trying to move away from Jeanty and try to trade away. But it's also, we're going into week 4, and we're about a 1/6 of the way already done for fantasy football standards. That's which I mean, it's going by this football goes by quickly, people. If you didn't know that, it does. Jeanty 6.3, Malik Neighbors 3.3. The Chiefs defense absolutely shut down Malik Neighbors, but it's Russell Wilson's throwing in the ball. Russell Wilson should not be starting in the NFL this upcoming week. Jackson Dart desperately needs to be out there. I think Malik Neighbors wants Jackson Dart out there, but Malik Neighbors was not shown. He was not present. 7 targets, 2 receptions, 13 yards. I think this is the worst performance he's ever had in the NFL. That's bad. And then lastly, we got T. Higgins. T. Higgins wasn't great. 2.5 PPR, 1 reception, 2 targets, 15 yards. Just not what you want when it comes to well, then just burn the tape. Like I said earlier, burn the tape. If I'm the Bengals, just that's a bad loss. 48-10. 48-10 is a terrible loss. It's something that you don't want to have. That's a loss you don't want. Oh boy. All right, let's get to our waiver wire watcher, because there's at least 4 guys, maybe 5. I'm just curious. You know what? We're going to go 5. We're going to go 5. I'm going to pull him up right now, the guy that I'm about to talk about, and that's Bashel Tootin. Rootin' Tootin, Bashel Tootin. Had a touchdown this week. He had 6 carries on 21 yards. He also had 1 target, and that target was unsuccessful. But this is back-to-back weeks where we've seen him factor more into this offense, and Jacksonville did not play well whatsoever against the Houston Texans. I expected more. I don't trust this offense at all, But at least know at some point, Trevor Lawrence is going to be check down city because they're trying to win football games. And check down city consists of Travis Etienne and Bichelle Tootin. And Bichelle Tootin, it's good to know that he's getting red zone love, as we saw with this past week and the week prior where he got the touchdown at both times in red zone. He's getting red zone targets. So he's a guy that I would grab and stash. Tootin is 48.1% owned. That's up from 8.1% last week. So there's a trend right now of getting a grab and stash on Bichelle Tootin, and he would be a guy that I would consider going out there because I've already done it in a couple of my leagues. Trey Tucker, who's owned in 2%, he just had that big exceptional week against the Commanders. They play the Bears this upcoming week, and he might be a fun ad to have, especially if Brock Bowers is still kind of hurt. He's not 100%. He doesn't look 100%. And I know they're not going to try to factor in Mayer into the focal point. And I thought Thornton might have been a good ad to have earlier on in the season. But I think Trey Tucker, the way that he just performed this past week, he might get some more love from Geno Smith because Geno likes to find some love with some guys. Maybe Trey Tucker might become his Tyler Lockett crush that he had on Tyler Lockett when he was in Seattle. So maybe Trey Tucker's only owned in 2% of leagues. I feel like there's going to be a flurry of waiver wire requests on trying to get him. And you might as well try to get him in there as well. Because it's kind of like how last week, how Troy Franklin went off and he was terrible against the Chargers this past week. Maybe that's the ad to have. Kind of like a lot of people were in on Troy Franklin. And he didn't, luckily, know if you didn't, hopefully you did not start him. Maybe it was a good grab and stash for you. But a good grab and stash is Trey Tucker. Trey Benson, he's owned in 58% of leagues. They do play the Seattle Seahawks this week. Trey Benson is going to probably be a great ad to have if he's still out there. Like I said, he's over half the leagues he's a free agent in. So James Conner's out. The focal point on that running back will be Trey Benson. So go out there and try to grab him. The Titans' Alec Ayomanor had 13.8 PPR just this past week, and he's owned in 21% of the leagues. They do play Houston. I like Alec because he's getting targets from Cam Ward. I thought Calvin Ridley Jr. would try to step out, but I think he had 2 targets this past week. And I don't know if we're just trying to figure out if Cam Ward is trying to move around or try to get this, but we at least know Ayomanor is getting targeted at least 5 to 6 times per week. That's at least what's happened in the last 2 weeks, and with one being a touchdown, and I think 2 of them were touchdowns. Back-to-back weeks touchdown, I believe, with Ayomanor. I'm fact-checking myself right now. I don't want to sound stupid. Ayomanor had a touchdown this past week. He had a touchdown the week prior. Yes, he was targeted 7 times in week 1, only brought around 2 receptions. So he's at least getting targeted a lot. So you know what I like when it comes to fantasy football is targets. If I can get a guy who gets over 7 targets per week, I want to make sure I start him. He got 5 this past week, and maybe it goes down less. It's against the Houston Texans, who just kind of shut out the Jacksonville Jaguars. I mean, the Jags put up 10 points, but at least grab and stash Ayomanor because he's going to be a big focal point, and Cam Ward, I think, is going to at least love him. Now, this is a guy that I would just grab and stash and just hold on to because, one, he finally got a touchdown. The Seahawks finally got the touchdown, a punt return touchdown or a kick return touchdown for the first time in 20-some years or 18 years or something like that, some crazy, or 10 years maybe. I don't know. I just know it's been a long time since the Seattle Seahawks were able to get a kick return for a touchdown. Torrey Horton, there we go, had 18.2 PPR. He is owned in 1.1% of leagues. He had 2 touchdowns yesterday, one being a reception touchdown. He had a touchdown the week prior. I don't know if this is just Sam Darnold saying, hey, I'm going to target this guy because I can see something in him, or he's just getting open, and he's also really fast. But he's a guy that I would grab and stash. He's getting 4 targets per game. The last 2 weeks, he's gotten 4 targets, exactly 32 yards, and 1 touchdown. And the only thing about this past week that was different is he got a touchdown special teams. So if he might be the spark plug for this entirety of it, just grab him and put him on your bench. You never know when you possibly might need him, a Torrey Horton. And I'm curious if his name's going to run because I like last week when I mentioned the Hunter Renfrow, no one was talking about Hunter Renfrow until I mentioned something. I'm curious what Hunter Renfrow do much. The only thing that I know what happened in the Panthers game was they beat the Falcons. Like, I did not expect the Falcons to absolutely get dog walked by the Panthers. Okay, so per looking back at what Hunter Renfrow did this past week, 4 targets, 2 receptions, 6 yards. If he might be still a grab and stash candidate. I mean, he had 9 receptions the week prior. They do play New England, the Patriots. They're not going to England, like I've been saying a lot so far. But yeah, That's my waiver wire watcher. And that will do it here for this edition of Foolish Fantasy. Make sure you do like, subscribe, turn on notifications. I do want to know what your answer is, though, to the question that I asked at the beginning. If you I'm hoping you've made it this far, which if you have, thank you so much for listening to this. But if you have yet to answer it, at Kramer Talks on X right now, you can even slide in the DMs if you wanted to and just answer it that way if you do not want to post it out there into where everyone else can see. I mean, I get it. I understand if you want to be discreet, go for it. I don't care. I'm a human. I understand when I want to be discreet too. Don't worry about it. But the question to you all is, if you could have redrafted your first-round pick in your fantasy drafts, who would you have selected? Like I said, I took Jamar Chase. I wish I would have had Jonathan Taylor. But that'll be it. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you for subscribing. Have a good one, and good luck. Good luck with your waiver wires, because I'll tell you what, it's a dogfight every single week on getting the guy you truly want. Talk to you in a couple of days.